Hey, good evening. It's your girl, Jersey Love Steph, and wherever you are, I want to welcome you in. I just want to, excuse me, if you can't give it a thumbs up, I just want to share a message that I've been going through my life. And sometimes I've been on the other side of mocking someone, and sometimes now you go through being mocked. But I just want to share this piece of advice, and maybe you're going through this right now. But we can do something about it. We can stand up for ourselves by not accepting that behavior, if we're the ones being mocked. So I just want to say this. My definition, okay, we could be mocked, right? And this is what I mean by being mocked. We're giving somebody solid advice because the path that they're going on is not good. So we're giving them the advice, teaching them how to do this, and showing them the right way, the right path, showing them light, but they're choosing their own path. And, we are all guilty of this, right? But what we could do is guide them. And then it comes to a point where we don't want to accept that behavior. So, there's consequences. If they haven't taken our advice, now there's consequences. So let's say, for example, um, Jimmy, let's say we tell somebody, you can't keep calling out of work because you're going to wind up losing your job. And so then they wind up getting fired or something like that. And we've been trying to tell them, well, then they try to play the victim because they wind up getting fired because that job is counting on them. So they wind up, playing the victim basically. But we're telling them the whole time, and I've been on the other end where people were telling me advice, but I was basically just doing what I wanted to, but it cost me a lot of money. So, like, even we could be, let's say, in our relationships, we could be mocking our own partner because they're telling us, "Listen, don't put this stuff on credit card. I want to get us out of debt." But we keep doing it time and time again, and we're laughing to our friends or other people about them behind their back. We're basically making them look like a fool. But what winds up happening, it turns around on you because it separates your relationship. So it's like, if we can go back to the Garden of Eden, um, the devil had Eve mock God because God told her, "You shall not eat from the tree of knowledge, for in the day you do, you shall surely die." Hey, how are you? Who's that? Hey, YT Gaiman, how are you? So, in the Garden of Eden, if we could go back there, it all started in Genesis, and she mocked God because the serpent deceived her. The serpent is the craftiest of all the animals and everything. The serpent is the most craftiest, and we still see it today. We have people that can resemble a serpent. Maybe they're not the snake, but they tell us this surely won't kill you. But then we're stuck in debt because we follow the way of the easy path, basically. So God told her, "You shall not eat from this one tree, or in the day you do, you shall die." So she mocked God and basically took the serpent's advice, and they lost the kingdom. They were kicked out of the kingdom. Well, that's still happening today. Maybe we're not, we could have a Garden of Eden. We have everything in our house. Let's say for our children have everything in the house. We have nice clothes, maybe not designer, but nice stuff. We have a roof over our head, safe area, but we're just doing everything to mock our parents or the place that we live. Let's say you live at a place and you're just mocking those people by not listening. Well, there's a consequence, just like in the Garden of Eden, how Eve and them were kicked out of the garden. We can lose our place, we can lose our job, we can lose our spouse. We lose it by just being mocking the other person. So it is really, we need to learn to respect our friends. If our friend is telling us, "Listen, I know that you want to go hang out with this person, but the person is really bad. They're basically doing drugs or something like that. They're into these schemes and stuff. I want to tell you this because they know something that you don't know, but you still go hang out with them because these are the high class, whatever. But you just mock your friend who is looking out for you. And then what winds up happening is you get snared because you weren't listening. You mocked your friend. Or, we can, let me see what my cat's doing. Sorry, guys. Tony, what are you doing? Sorry. It's like, I hate that, but as hard it is, we try to give people a lesson, or they try to give us a lesson. And then what winds up happening is there comes a consequence because they uh, go down the wrong path, or they wind up losing their place. Well, it's not like everybody can let you move in with them, right? So there's a consequence, but then, yes, we'll have some sympathy, but that's what winds up happening. This is the consequence of us continuing, or the other person continuing. There's a consequence, and it's so frustrating. But then they try to, it's almost like manipulation. But the thing is we have to go into the Bible and look at what God is telling us, and not mock God's word, because we may know and we still go against it, but there's always a consequence for mocking God. He's telling us, don't be a lender or don't be a lender to the borrower, or the borrower is always slave to the lender. So that's telling us, if we pick up all this credit debt, we are going to be slaves to debt. And yes, there is some things that we have to put on credit, but we should try to break free from that, break the chains. Like Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So if we, as Christians or Catholics, any religion, we should have the Bible as our guidebook, and it's a huge one. The Ten Commandments still stands. Jesus is an atoning sacrifice for us. So yes, we are supposed to follow the Ten Commandments. The only thing back in the day, you had to sacrifice lambs or whatever, was you needed the blood of an animal. But Jesus was the atoning sacrifice. But it doesn't mean that there won't be a consequence. It doesn't mean that God isn't going to give us, he chastises those that he loves. And the same thing with our children. When they're out of line, we are supposed to chastise them any which way we can. Not, do not spare the rod of discipline, which does not mean beat your kids, but it means, like, if you give them allowance, you take the allowance away if they're not listening. And that's a consequence of it, because they're mocking us, and if we don't listen to people, we're mocking them, and it's like, if we're at a job and your boss is telling you to do something, and you're just flunking away and just wasting, laughing at your boss, that's wrong. Think about how frustrating it has to be for that boss, because they hired us to do the job, and we should put everything we have into that job, because we have to pay our bills. There's other people relying on us. If we don't like it, we can find another job. But like I said, it's like we have a Garden of Eden, but there's just some things we can't do, we can't touch, we can't look at, because it's mocking the word of God, or it's mocking the people that we're supposed to respect. Well, I just had this message, and it's so frustrating, because when you love somebody, you don't want to see them mess up. And I'm sure other people, they don't want to see us mess up either, right? Our parents try to warn us and stuff, but sometimes we have to learn the hard way. But that is always the consequence, and not all the time are we always right. We have to kind of I will ask for godly counsel when I need to know if I'm thinking the right way about something. And I have two people that I confide in, and it's sound judgment, and I give them exactly what's going on, and I tell them, am I wrong? You have to sometimes get a perspective when you're dealing with a serious situation. And sometimes you have people that try to manipulate you, because you put up, the boundaries are very important when it comes to the point You told this person this, they didn't listen. Now these are the consequences, because we have to protect ourselves too. If you're on the end where you've been telling this person, then it comes to the point and then they want you. It's like manipulation, and it you have to have a different, you need strong people standing by you with sound judgment to let you know that's what counselors are good for, and they want both sides of the story. Um, and when you talk to somebody and you give them the story, you tell them the truth, whether you're the one that's wrong or not, so they can guide you. Because if we're never wrong, or if we always feel that we're never, if we always feel like even if we're wrong that we're not going to acknowledge it, we will never be able to change as people. And that's when you're at a job and the boss comes to you and says, hey, can you do your I don't know, something, they're asking you to do something. You say yes, you can apologize, you could say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to do this, sometimes I forget. And they could work with you. But when you're just telling them, like you're just being blatantly disrespectful, nobody wants that, because it's almost impossible. It's like you're pulling a donkey. People gotta want to change too. It's not just the other person telling you, but you're going to have to do the change, and nobody can do the changing for you. You're going to have to seek out. You can ask the boss, can you help me with this? And 99.9% of the time, the boss is going to be more than happy. Maybe he kind of shrugs his shoulders, or she shrugs her shoulders, but that's what people want. I've gotten jobs, opportunity, a time. I mean, because, you know, it's just important. If people are going to walk all over us, we have to let people know what we're going to accept and what we're not going to accept. Like, I'm not going to allow somebody to tread all over me. I'm just not, because I work very hard. I'm kind to people, and not everybody's going to be kind to me, but I'm not going to allow people to tread all over me. And if they do, I'm going to let them know and then cut them off. I don't need that in my life. If they can't apologize or treat me with respect, or at least be, courtesy, not give me, tread on me, basically. I'm just not going to stand for that. I'm not going to allow somebody to do that to me. People can only do to you what you allow them to do. It comes to a point where you have